Welcome to Carol and Gary's See America Tour.
Hello again, everyone. With snowbirding in Coden, Alabama winding down, I thought that I'd give you a preview of our 2021 travel plans. But before I do, let's review the states that Carol and I have already visited. After getting married early in 2010, we toured the 4 largest Hawaiian islands for 2 weeks. Then in 2011, we took a 1-week cruise along the coast of Alaska, followed by a week-long cross-country bus trip to other areas of the state. In 2012, after Carol pulled North Carolina out of a bowl, we flew there for a week. In 2013, Carol pulled Oregon out of a bowl, so we flew there for another week. Later in 2013, we decided to take a second trip, so we flew to Georgia for a week. In 2014, we flew to New York, splitting our time between New York City and Niagara Falls. Later in 2014, after buying a 30-foot Class C motorhome, we spent a week in Colorado. In 2015, we decided to spend a week in North Dakota, followed by a week in South Dakota. In 2016, we traded in our Class C motorhome and upgraded to a 38-foot Class A motorhome. Our first trip was a week in Wyoming, followed by a second week in Montana. In 2017, even though we were living in eastern Nebraska, we decided to take a week-long tour of western Nebraska. Later in 2017, we took a week-long trip to Minnesota. Shortly after returning from Minnesota, Carol and I were both forced into early retirement, so we decided to sell our house and go snowbirding in Texas. But before leaving for Texas, we took a short drive north to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. If you stay in South Dakota for one night, you can become a resident. And South Dakota does not have any state income tax, so by becoming residents, we would avoid $6,000 annually in state income tax. Leaving Texas in 2018, we decided to slowly work our way across Oklahoma and then drop down into Arkansas and then Louisiana before heading north to see family. On our way north, we made several stops in Kansas. After spending 2 weeks visiting family in Nebraska, we decided to drive across the Missouri River and tour Iowa for 2 weeks. While traveling, Carol and I were discussing the options for our second year of snowbirding. After we decided on Arizona, Carol suggested stopping to see a large hot air balloon festival in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so we spent a couple of weeks in New Mexico before driving to Arizona. After spending the winter of 2018 in Arizona, we plotted a 4-month trip beginning in April of 2019 through California, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and Utah before returning to the Midwest. We drove to Wisconsin in August of 2019. From Wisconsin, we drove through Michigan's Upper Peninsula and then crossed the famous Mackinac Bridge to Lower Michigan. After Michigan, we spent a month in Elkhart, Indiana trying to get our large slider repaired for the second time. From Elkhart, we worked our way south to Kentucky and then Tennessee. It turned very cold during our second week in Kentucky, so we cut Tennessee to 1 week and canceled our first week in northern Mississippi before reaching the Gulf Coast. We snowbirded in Florida in 2019. The coronavirus hit while we were in Florida. Bathrooms and laundry facilities were all locked. All group social activities were quickly canceled. By the time we left Florida on April 1st, 2020, many states had shut down the majority of their tourist activities. We decided to drive to Nebraska and self-quarantine there for the summer of 2020. After finally convincing Thor to investigate our ongoing large slider problems, we drove back to Elkhart, Indiana in August of 2020. From Elkhart, we decided to check out Ohio and then West Virginia before slowly working our way south to Coden, Alabama, where we have been all winter. Alabama is the 36th state that Carol and I have visited together, so when we leave Coden on April 1st, 2021, the plan is to continue chipping away at the remaining states on our list, which is now down to 14. Since we haven't seen much of Alabama, the plan is to drive north to Montgomery and then Birmingham, Alabama. From Birmingham, we will cross Georgia into South Carolina. From South Carolina, we will cross North Carolina into Virginia. We will be staying 3 weeks in Virginia, but 1 week of this will be visiting Washington, D.C. After Virginia, we will be visiting Delaware. This next stop may not make sense at first, so let me explain my logic. I googled average temperatures by month in the state of Maine, which is where we were heading, and found that it can still be very cold early in the year. Most motorhomes do not do well in cold temperatures. They are built for summer fun and not insulated to withstand the cold. If water freezes in the plastic pipes, the water expands and ruptures the pipes. The blue line on this chart represents the average monthly low temperatures. This wide green line represents the month of June through August. Notice that the average nighttime lows for June through August are a comfortable 50 degrees or above. This establishes our target visiting window. So with cold temperatures in mind, when we leave Delaware, we will be skipping Maryland, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania and going straight to Connecticut. After Connecticut, we will be driving to Rhode Island and then on to Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. On July 29th, our plan is to arrive in the state of Maine. This should put us well in the range of comfortable daytime and nighttime temperatures. After spending 2 weeks in Maine, we will drive to western Pennsylvania and then work our way east to New Jersey and then down to Maryland. If we stay on schedule, spending approximately 2 weeks per state, we should be leaving Maryland on September 23rd. This will leave us with 48 of the 50 states visited, with only Illinois and Missouri remaining. At the time this video is being finalized, we do not have plans to visit Illinois or Missouri during 2021, but this is due to the potential overnight temperatures. It doesn't mean that we won't visit one or both of them. It just means that we have no plans. I hope you enjoyed this preview of our 2021 travel plans. If you did, please subscribe to follow along. Thanks for watching.